Okay, I'm going to pick a couple of each type of problem out of here to go over. So this one, find the perimeter. We have this side, we have this length. This 5 goes with right here, and this 5 goes with right here. This 7 is this distance. So we still need to find these distances right here. So what I'm going to do is, if I know these two are equal, so this has to be 5, which would make this little part right here have to be 2.5, because 2.5 and 5 adds up to 7.5. So this part has to be 2.5. So this distance is 7.5. And if this part is 5, then this part's 5 as well, which would make this section 6 and this section 6. And these two are, this is 7. So this distance is going to be 13, and then this distance is going to be 12. So to add up the perimeter, you have 13 plus 12 plus 7.5 plus 5 plus 11 to get your perimeter. And then I'm going to do this one right here. So this is a tangent, so I'll make my right angle. And I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So x squared plus 6 squared equals, this distance is x plus x, which is 2x. But you need to make sure that you put this around parentheses because you're multiplying 2x by itself. So now you're going to have x squared plus 6 squared equals 4x squared. So this is going to be x squared plus 36 equals 4x squared. Subtract x squared from each side. So now you have 36 equals 3x squared. X squared equals 12 after you divide both sides by 3. So x equals the square root of 12. Or you could break it down to 2 root 3. Exactly. And I don't need to do plus or minus. Normally you would do plus or minus, but we're talking about a distance here. And then this one, make sure to put your 90-degree in to figure out what x is. This one, this has to be 4 because these two are equal, so therefore this side is 6 and this side is 6. I'm going to do this one. You would do the Pythagorean theorem again. You would do 6 squared plus 8 squared equals x squared. This is a pentagon. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. All of these angles would be congruent. So if I drew the rest of the angles in, this would be, x would be 360 divided by 5. That's what x is equal to. I'll go on. I'm going to do number 4. It's another algebraic problem. So we know that this is a 90, so I can use the Pythagorean theorem. So I'm going to do x squared plus 8 squared equals, this quantity is x plus 2. It's not 2x, it's an x plus a 2 squared. Okay, this distance is x plus 2. So now what you're going to do is, I'm going to simplify it, so it's x squared plus 64 equals, now when you have x plus 2 squared, you have to FOIL it out. So it's first times first, outside, inside, last. So it's going to be x squared plus 4x plus 4. So I can subtract x squared from each side, and then I'll subtract 4 from each side. So you have 60 equals 4x. So x equals 15 is the answer. And then over here, you can do the Pythagorean theorem again. Remember, the tangent is where the 90 is. So this distance is going to be the same as this distance because these two are both the radii. So this distance is 3. So then you do, this distance is 10, and you can use the Pythagorean theorem. Same thing with this. If we know that radius is 9 right here, this radius has to be 9. So I'm going to do this one because this ends up being a quadratic. So this is a 90, so you do 12 squared plus 9 squared equals, this distance right here is x plus 9. So it's x plus 9 squared. So it's 144 plus 81 equals, FOIL this out, it's going to be x squared plus 18x plus 81. So now the 81s cancel out, and I'm going to get one side equal to 0. I have a quadratic to solve, so I have x squared plus 18x, and I subtracted 144, so I'm going to subtract 144 right here. So in this quadratic, you can do the quadratic formula. You could use this, or you can solve by factoring. I'm going to solve by factoring. So when I solve by factoring, I set up two binomials, and to be x squared, I'm going to do x and x. And I have to think of numbers that, and I multiply, I get negative 144. And when I add, I get 18. So I know one has to be a negative and one has to be a positive because this is a negative number. So I'm going to, if I lift out the factors are 24 and 6. So 24 has to be positive and 6 has to be negative because negative 6 plus 24 is 18. So now I'm going to set each one of these equal to 0. So you get x equals 6 and x equals negative 24. That's your answer. But I'm not going to use negative 24 because I want a positive distance. So x equals 6 is my answer. Okay, then we'll do one of these pulley ones. I'm going to do this one. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to draw a congruent and parallel segment with this tangent. So I'm going to draw it right here. It's got to go from this center to this side. If I went from this center, it would be off of here. So actually technically that could work too. But I'm just going to do it from here to here. Oops, it's not even straight. That's where my 90 is. It's very important that you put your 90 in because then you can see that x is the hypotenuse. So this distance is 30. This segment that I just drew is 30. It's the long side. The short side right here is going to be 1, and the hypotenuse is x. So you do 30 squared plus 1 squared equals x squared and solve for x. So it's really important that you draw this 90-degree angle in. I'm going to set up number 9 too. So this time you start at the pulley on the short radius. Draw your 90 right here. This side is x. This side has to be 1. So now the hypotenuse is 7. So this one's going to be x squared plus 1 squared equals 7 squared.